it's Tawney. Today's video we're going to be talking about best and worst at the drugstore, and it is the drugstore makeup tag. I watched a video by Andrea something that starts with an M. I can't think of what her last name is. And I'll link her video, and then also Jen Phelps is who I found started this. So if I can find her video, I'll link it as well, just so you guys know where I got this from. I was really excited when I saw this because I'm like, a new tag, and it's not very popular, and I'm like really excited about it because I love drugstore makeup. And I've been wanting to talk about like my favorite drugstore products and brands and like recommendations and things, because drugstore is mainly where I get all my makeup. Like, I do have a couple things that are high end, but the majority of what I use is from the drugstore. So I definitely wanted to do more videos talking about good stuff at the drugstore, because I have a lot of people like on my Facebook that whenever they talk about makeup, they only talk about like the popular brands like MAC, Urban Decay, like things like that, and they don't realize that Maybelline, L'Oreal, CoverGirl, Rimmel, all those brands at the drugstore do sell good makeup. They just assume because it's $4 or $5, it's not worth buying, which I'm referring to the Wet n Wild Dewy Foundation because it's great. But, so we're going to get started. The first question is, if you could only use one brand, what brand would that be? So I thought a lot about this because I really like Maybelline and I like a lot of their products. And I also like L'Oreal, but L'Oreal isn't one that I like use all of their products. I think for me right now, it would probably be Physicians Formula, because I use the bronzer, the blush, and I believe I might still have a highlighter. I'm not a big fan of the highlighters for some reason. They just didn't really work on me. And I've liked their mascaras before. They're not like super great, but I've liked them and they've worked for me. That's what matters. I really like the foundation. I'm currently wearing it now. I just feel like it's a brand that everything is like, it's clean beauty. I don't really know if the products, like the items they use within the products and like the materials and things, if they're like clean products and if they're like vegan and whatnot, but the brand just seems very like, and not that I like light coverage because I really don't, I'm more of a full coverage, but like I feel like it looks nice, and their products are ones that like I feel like I look good in, like they make me feel good. And like there's plenty of other brands I could have picked, but this was just one that, like, I don't know, really stuck out to me. Most underrated brand at the drugstore, I have two for this one, because I just kind of felt that, like, both of them fit the category in different ways. Wet n Wild was the first one, because they have the Dewy Foundation. I know they have the original, which I'm not really a big fan of, and I'm not sure if it, like, just, I've used it and it looks fine on my skin, it just doesn't wow me. Whereas the Dewy one, oh my gosh, my makeup looks stunning every time I wear it. Like, I feel like I could be the dumbest person when it comes to applying makeup and making it look decent, and that foundation will like save me. Like, it'll make me look so nice. And it's one that, like, if I could recommend it to everybody, I would. And the other brand is CoverGirl. Now, CoverGirl has a lot of hits and misses, and a lot of their products aren't the best. But I found that their primers and mascaras are both really good. They have a couple good foundations, and it's like, if you can find one that works for you, then like definitely go for that. Because I've liked both the Healthy Vitalist, I think it was. I really liked that one. And then I also really liked the matte one, although I like steer clear of that one if I can help it. But I think overall, like, their eyeshadow formula is not bad. I know in like their older palettes it was good. I haven't really tried anything in the newer palettes just because it doesn't like interest me. But I think that's one that, like, if people gave more of a chance to, they'd see that there are good products in the brand. They're just not maybe marketed like very well, or like the packaging just isn't like as up to date as it could be, which I think is an area that they could definitely work on. But the products are still good, and I think that's all that really matters. It's just whether or not it, you know, works for you. Most overrated brand at the drugstore, when I was watching Andrea's video and she said Morphe, I was like, you know, I forget that Morphe's a drugstore brand, because they always like have influencers that are like big name, like high-end makeup people, and then Morphe sells like $8 bronzers and like $12 eyeshadow palettes, and like the only things that are expensive are the things that are collaborations with other influencers and other like famous people. And I think their eyeshadow formula sucks. I bought two of their like Dare to Create palettes, like the 30-some whatever dollar palettes, and I just didn't think they worked that well. I thought the quality wasn't as good as it could be. Like, I've used better quality from like ColourPop and stuff, and I just thought, like, for your money, you're not really getting what you like, you're not getting out what you put in. And that's something that like they really need to work on. And like they came out with, what was it, like 40-60 shades of foundation. Everything was like orangey or grayish, and none of them looked good on anybody. And like, the brand is just so shady as a brand, and I just think that's why it's so overhyped. And like, I was just washing some makeup brushes the other day, and I'm not rough with my brushes, especially when I use them. And even when I was cleaning them, I try to be really gentle with them. But I've noticed while using them and while washing them that one of my brushes was already starting to like fall apart. And it's not like a goat hair or like human hair made brush. It's like synthetic, and it was like $6 or something. But like, it was flaking, and I already feel like I need to throw it away because it's just not that good. So then it made me think like there's probably other brands out there that are better. And the other overrated brand I would say is, I had a mix up between Neutrogena and LA Girl. I think Neutrogena is worth it because their skincare really like pulls them, like their products better. It's just one that like I haven't really found a whole lot that works for me. But for LA Girl, when people talk about that concealer, I don't know how they make that work. I have bought that in so many shades, and it just, I haven't really found anything from the brand that I like aside from the Slation, or the Shady Slim Brow Pencil, and that's honestly like the only thing that I've ever had that's like decent from the brand. Like, I wouldn't recommend them to anybody, even being drugstore like prices. The next category is favorite drugstore product under $5. This one had me excited, but then the second I thought about it, I was like, what's under $5? I was like, what do I have that's under $5? And I immediately thought of the e.l.f. brushes. I used to use one. Let me see if I can find it really quick. No, not find it really quick. But it was the contour brush, and I would use it as my like crease slash like all over brush, and it just worked so well. And like, I have the powder brush here that I use whenever I do my, you know, like set my face, and then I have this brush which I haven't used, but it's the Flawless Face brush, and I figure I can use that for either like contouring or blush, or I could even use it for powders and things. And I just find that like the brushes are such good quality, and they're so cute. Like, even that pink is like, and you're not paying that much money for the brush, and even if you're paying more than like say Morphe prices, you're getting better, like you're getting better quality, if that makes sense. Like, because I've realized that like the Morphe brushes don't last as well, and I'd rather just go to the drugstore and buy one than have to order it online or run into an Ulta and hope that they sell Morphe, because mine no longer sells Morphe anymore, which kind of glad, because I like to see something else come in that spot. But the next category, moving along, is a hidden gem at the drugstore that nobody talks about. The one that came to mind, the first one, is the NYX Tinted Brow Gel, and I used it today. I freaking love this product. Like, it tints my brows just enough that it like fills in whatever I miss with my brow pencil, and you don't really notice it, and if you go crazy with it, it's not that noticeable. You just kind of like run your finger over it and it like gets it away, and it doesn't leave my brows crunchy like the Control Freak one does, but it also doesn't like, I don't feel like it fades at all during the day. I think that one is something that's like very, you know, very underrated, or a hidden gem that nobody talks about. And then the other one is a duo, and it is the Makeup Revolution Conceal and Hydrate Foundation and Concealer. The second I bought these just because I wanted them, not because anybody said that they were good. And I was like, I have to try it. So you know, it was before the pandemic, so I was able to shade match and make sure that things worked for me before I came home, and then was like, oh my gosh, I'm orange, or oh my gosh, I matched the walls behind me. Like, and I swear, I'm not a dewy person, and I hate dewy looks, but I look so good wearing both of those, and I don't look overly dewy. Like, my nose gets a little bit dewy, but mainly because my nose is like oil central, you know what I mean? Like, I just get oil like crazy there, and I wish more people would talk about that, because they are such good products together and separately that like, I wish more people knew about it. My favorite foundation, I do like the Conceal and Hydrate, but I would have to say my ultimate favorite is the Maybelline 24-Hour Super Stay Foundation. I think this looks so nice, and it's such a good like fresh foundation without being too dewy. Like, it's kind of like the L'Oreal Fresh Foundation, but not quite as dewy. Like, it's more of like a matte. Like, you could make your look more matte if you wanted to by like putting a little bit more powder on this, or you could go a little bit more hydrating underneath your eyes and like in other areas of your face. But I think this is definitely one that like, if people are looking for a foundation, I would tell them to use this. Like, stop using your MAC, stop using your Urban Decay, stop using all these other brands that are too expensive that you can't really afford, but you're going to use them anyway, and just go for like a $12 foundation from the drugstore. Like, it's so easy to find, and it's so good, and honestly, who cares that it's Maybelline and it was $12? it looks good, and nobody needs to know that you're not wearing something high-end. Like, and honestly, it's like glass. So, like, it's nice. I really like it. I wish more people used it. What product do you buy more at the drugstore than high-end? I would have to say brow products and mascaras, only because I haven't found a mascara from like a high-end like Sephora and whatnot that I'm interested in trying. Because the Better Than Sex is like the same as the L'Oreal Lash Paradise, so I'm like, why would I spend $20 when I can spend $10? And like, I have mascaras that I like, and I have my brow products that I like, so it's like, why spend more money when I already know things that work from the drugstore that I'm not spending much money on? Brands that are overpriced, again, I would say Morphe. I think a lot of their eyeshadow palettes are overpriced because of the name that they carry, because all the people that they have within the brand. I don't think the products are actually worth it. I think a lot of them are decently priced. Like, I remember the foundation was like $10, $12, so it wasn't overly expensive. But like, I think the brand as a whole tries to market that they're so high end, but then their prices are like too all over the place that it just like, it just doesn't work. And like, I think Milani is another one, because they started coming out with eyeshadow palettes that were like $14, then $19, and I think the latest one is like $24, and it's like, you're not drugstore like prices anymore. Like, you need to start coming out with things that are like affordable. Otherwise, you need to get out of Walmart, out of CVS, out of the drugstore section of Ulta, and like be with your people, because you're going to be charging more money, and like you're going to be held to a higher standard because you're now charging more money. And the last one is NYX, because they came out with those like $30-some palettes, and I have like no interest in buying any of them. And I've heard the quality's not bad, but they're just like, they are so all over the place with pricing and like the themes that they're going with for their products. Like, they can never keep to a certain, like, here's a unicorn thing, and here's like a fairy thing, and then here's like a goth thing, and it's like, what kind of theme are you going with for your brand? And like, NYX, I feel like they just come out with so much that it's just so overwhelming, and you just don't really know like what's going on. I almost feel like they're like the drugstore version of Too Faced, because that's what I think of like with Too Faced. Like, they're all over the place with like the unicorns and stuff like that. But like, yeah, and pricing is just weird with NYX, because you could buy like a $4 lipstick and then like a $30 palette. Like, and you're gonna say your drugstore. Favorite dupe from the drugstore? I would have to say, I'm gonna talk about this, but I'm a little bit like, it's weird. So the Tatcha Putty Primer was said to have e.l.f. the Poreless Putty Primer as a dupe, or like, this is a dupe for the Tatcha. I don't know why I ordered that weird. And I do like it. Mine has like a bunch of dirt and stuff in it, which kind of grosses me out when I use it, and I try to like avoid those areas. But I think this is a good one. The putty effect of it kind of grosses me out, because like putty's weird. But I used that one for a while, and I thought it was okay. And then Emily Noel told, like, not me, but she posted about the Hard Candy Smoothing Primer Balm, and I like use this all the time, and I've barely made a dent. I think this is better than the e.l.f. one, and I think this is a closer dupe to the Tatcha one from what I've like heard and read about. And like, I just think it works so well. You probably don't need to be spending all that money on the Tatcha one when you can just spend like $6 on Hard Candy. The best eyeshadow formula from the drugstore, I would have to say, is ColourPop. I was a little on the fence because a lot of people were saying that they really like Profusion, but I have a couple Profusion palettes, and I'm a little on the fence about them. I feel like they work, but they're not like overly great. I think for $10 they're great, but at the same time, I'm not like so impressed that I'm going to throw away everything else I have and just use them. But like, all my ColourPop palettes, they feel like they're high end, and even the quality of the palettes, like, even though this is like plasticky, it still looks like it's so like, I don't know, I just feel like I'm not using a $12, $16 palette. I feel like I'm using something that's more expensive, and the quality is so good. The worst eyeshadow formula, I put down L'Oreal and Maybelline. Now, I do have an exception with Maybelline because they're starting to get better. But when they first came out with those long palettes that were like this long, and they had all those shades, they were garbage. Like, they were just so dusty and chalky. And then they came out with the Soda Pop and the Lemonade Craze, and like all those palettes, and like L'Oreal came out with a peach one, which wasn't bad, but it wasn't great either. Like, it was mediocre. Like, if you're buying it for like your 12-year-old daughter or niece or something, yeah, it's great. But if you're buying it for yourself and you're like 20-something years old and you know what good quality is, you're gonna be disappointed. So I think like they both have a lot of areas they need to work on, and I would love to see both brands, I mean, with the exception of Maybelline, because I'm going to talk about in a future, you know, part of this, but like if they would come out with really good eyeshadows with good formula, or at least like decent to good formula, I feel like that could really boost the brand and help get them out a little bit more, instead of just being like, I feel like a lot of people think they're like not an old lady brand, but just like for your mom type thing. Nobody sees them as like, oh hey, I'm gonna buy this Maybelline product. Like, I mean, people that watch YouTube do, but like the people that don't see them as like a brand that caters to them. And I think that's where they could both improve, is by having eyeshadow palettes like that. Drugstore brand that I used to love, I would have to say Milani. I used to be obsessed with their eyeshadow palettes when they were like the 5 shadow palettes. Then they came out with the 2, the Soft and Sultry and the other one, and I had like no interest at all in buying them. Then they came out with 2 more, and I had even less interest in buying them, because I'm like, I've already spent all this money on slightly expensive palettes for you to then combine them into separate palettes that probably would have saved me money. But like, I was just like, I already have this, and then I'm like, they came out with, you know, they have the Conceal and Perfect foundation, which is not bad. I think that's what it's called. It's not bad, but it's not great. They have the concealer, which is not bad, but it's not great. I really like the Prep Set and Go powder, obviously, because I've hit pan, but like, nobody talks about it. And I feel like the brand just doesn't have, like, it needs more. And like, I don't know. And the same thing with BH Cosmetics is the second one I thought about, because they like have foundations that nobody talks about. They have lip products that like look pretty but nobody talks about. Their eyeshadow palettes aren't like interesting anymore. Like, I bought the Zodiac ones. I bought both of them. I never used the first one, and I kept the second one because I thought it was pretty, but not because I used it. And I'm like not a big fan of the marbled eyeshadow formula, which is what they use. And I'm just like, I'm underwhelmed every time I use their products, and the more stuff they come out with, the less impressed I am and the less likely I am to buy them. Like, I just find myself like, I don't even look at them in Ulta anymore. I'm like, you're just wasting your space. And I'm like, unless you come out with something better, nobody's gonna want to use you and like buy the products. A product that I didn't expect to love from the drugstore, I would say the Physicians Formula Butter Blush. Now, this is one that I bought because Emily Noel recommended it, and it's not really a shade that I would like find myself using a lot. It kind of matches my shirt, but I think it is so pretty. I'm not wearing it today. I should have, because it's really nice. Not a big fan of the scent, because coconut scents just like gross me out, but like this one is really like, it has like that little bit of like sheen to it, so it's kind of like not as sparkly, but like it adds a little bit of glow to your cheeks, and I really like that. And I think it's a product that like, the butter formula is not my favorite, and I don't think it's one that like I know how to use. I feel like I have to like figure out how to make it work, because like even the butter bronzer, I feel like for the longest time I had like the lightest shade when they first came out, like 2 shades, and I just couldn't get it to like show up or look nice, and I felt like I had to keep applying, and like I just wasn't impressed with it. And like the blush like totally knocked that out, like top notch. And then the last one is the favorite affordable eyeshadow palette from the drugstore. I don't know why I said the favorite, but it is the Maybelline Nudes of New York palette. And this one was a hard decision because I really do like a lot of palettes from the drugstore, but this was the one that mainly stood out to me. And like, I didn't want to talk about ColourPop because I feel like ColourPop isn't one that like, when you think of drugstore and you're not from, like, you don't watch YouTube, you don't think of ColourPop. You don't even know that ColourPop exists, to be quite honest with you. Like, I didn't until I watched YouTube. So, like, I want to talk about true drugstore products, and, like, this palette is so nice. Like, it has a couple, like, purplish pink tones. It has, like, a little bit of, like, green and Inspirer and Founder, which is more like a gold, but it kind of, like, leans green, so you could use those as, like, helping shades, I guess. And then it has these really nice shades on the sides. Like, both shades on both sides are so nice. Like, this chocolate brown at the bottom, oh my gosh, I love using it to deepen my, like, my corners of my eyes. I feel like this is one that I could use all the time, do the same look every time, and never feel like I'm, you know, doing the same thing with it. I think it's one that I would definitely recommend to people, no matter what type of skill set you are, because I feel like you could come out with really nice looks, especially the more, like, sultry looks. Like, if you want to go for, like, a soft glam, or, like, do a wing with, like, the brown eyeshadow, I think this would be a good palette to do that with. I'm not experienced enough to want to do that, but it kind of makes me want to try it. But, yeah. So that is the video for today. I'd love to know what your thoughts are down below in the comments section, especially about like certain topics, like if you didn't agree with me or if you did, or if you have other suggestions about what didn't work for you or what you didn't like or what you did like. I especially really like to see what your favorite eyeshadow palette is from the drugstore, even if it's Morphe, even if it's ColourPop, even if it's a brand that I haven't really heard of, you know, something that I didn't talk about in this video. Definitely let me know below. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe, and ring the notification bell so you get notifications of when I upload next videos. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in my next one. Bye!